Cheese star Alan Davies has shared a rather bizarre and unexpected tale of grief-fueled rage, revealing how he ended up sinking his teeth into a man's ear during a particularly emotional moment in his life. The comedian, best known for his role as Jonathan Creek, was attending the funeral of his close friend and Jonathan Creek producer Verity Lambert in 2007, after she tragically lost her battle with cancer. Little did anyone know that Alan would channel his overwhelming grief in a rather unconventional way. The story begins at the wake following Verity's funeral, where Alan admits he was feeling terribly upset and drunk after delivering an emotional eulogy in her memory. As the evening wore on, Alan and his friends found themselves outside London's Groucho Club at 2 a.m. when an unsuspecting man on the street made the unfortunate decision to be rude to Alan. This, as Alan explained during a recent episode of the Griefcast podcast, was the exact moment the red mist descended. "I went over to have a go at him, shout in his ear. And then the red mist came down," Alan recalled, explaining that his grief had gotten the best of him. In the heat of the moment, instead of simply yelling, Alan bit the man on the ear. "Yes, you read that right," he sank his teeth into the poor guy's ear for a solid 13 seconds. Alan admitted, "When I got home, I said to my partner, Katie, I think I've done something terrible." The man on the receiving end of this unexpected attack was understandably stunned, later recounting the incident in a local newspaper. He recalled calling Alan by his Jonathan Creek character's name, which, as it turns out, was a huge mistake. The unnamed man said that Alan's face darkened after he called him Jonathan and, in a moment of fury, Alan demanded, "My name's Alan." "You know my name, Alan." "What's my name?" "It's Alan." And then, without warning, Alan lunged at his ear, drawing blood in the process. Despite the strange turn of events, the man, Paul McElfatrick, chose not to press charges. In fact, he later expressed that he would prefer to forgive Alan for the odd assault than pursue any legal action. "It was incredibly painful. I shrieked and my eyes were watering," McElfatrick explained, adding that Alan's ear-biting attack was completely out of character for the usually mild-mannered comic. Alan's behavior, as he admitted, was not premeditated. The emotional toll of Verity's death, coupled with the lack of food at the wake and his alcohol intake, left him in a fragile state. "The eulogy was difficult for me," he confessed, "and the long, food-deprived wake clearly didn't help. I got terribly upset and drunk," he added, joking that the mix of grief and booze might not have been the best recipe for emotional stability. Before the funeral, Alan also revealed how he had struggled with Verity's final days. He was unable to visit her in the hospital due to her deteriorating condition and was told by Verity's assistant that it was too late to see her. "I wrote a note to Verity saying how much I loved her and I am so sorry this was happening," Alan recalled. Though Alan eventually apologized to the man he had bitten, the story remains an infamous chapter in his life, one where grief and alcohol collided in the most unexpected and rather painful way. Still, McElfatrick, despite the trauma to his ear, showed compassion, telling Alan that he had no intention of pressing charges. "Better to forgive than sue, I guess," he seemed to imply, as the two moved on from their bizarre encounter. Alan, for his part, has clearly reflected on the incident with a mix of regret and humor. After all, it's not every day that someone gets bitten by a famous comedian in the middle of the street, but at least we now know what happens when the cheese star's emotions, and a bit too much alcohol, take over.